I see here in the Google Doc for this bullet point, you've included a photo.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to bring some AV with this. This is from one of the people in my Twitch Discord. They posted their neighbor's Christmas lights.
Okay, I thought you were going to say this was one of your neighbor's Christmas lights, and I was going to say, how tense are relations with this neighbor now?
Well, I would have a pair of wire snips out if somebody did something like this in my neighborhood. It is the brightest goddamn thing I've ever seen in my life. It's like the surface of the sun.
Like, this monitor is not even HDR, and I still don't want to look at that. It's like, what are they doing?
They just have a straight line of white, insanely bright LEDs along the trim line of their house, and no thank you, sir. That's like
it literally looks like a series of spotlights shining at, like, how do you coexist with somebody who does this to the people around them?
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like the landing lights that come on at the front of the airplane when you're like the airplane headlights. So they turn them on so they can make sure there's not like a deer or a bear or something in the runway, or I guess a child. I don't know, person. I don't know what the problem. Why you have, look, they have lights that turn on and they're real bright. That's the point. I don't know why you do this. I don't know about in the city, but people down here in the burbs are getting crazy with Christmas stuff now. Like,
yeah, I've noticed an uptick. Like, I mean, people are not quite shut indoors the way they were the last 3 years necessarily, but I attribute it to that period where everybody was just stuck inside and was just like, oh, I'm just going to go nuts with these decorations because what else do I have to do?
Well, and also I think everybody's realized, like, I think the LED kind of semi-programmable and like, I think those lights have gotten cheap enough and people have found out, like, they moved from AliExpress and places like that to like Amazon now. So people, like, I've had multiple parents ask me about programmable Christmas lights, right? And I'm like, okay, when like 5 years ago, that was a twinkly only thing. So
the lights are now programmable for the masses.
Yeah, everybody can get everybody. That's the name of an REM album, right?
Something like that.
But no, they like the LEDs are everywhere. They're crazy bright. Everybody has those big blow ups now. Like there's a guy down the street. I gotta say, mad respect. People across the street from each other. There's one that's like a 20-foot Santa Claus and one that's a 20-foot snowman, and they face each other diagonally across the street. So like it's like you're driving into Christmas land.
I thought you were going to say there was a 20-foot skeleton in there somewhere, but maybe
no. The 12-foot skeleton's down the street. It has a Santa hat on, nice. And he has some skeleton reindeer out front now, which apparently you can buy. I don't know.
Nice. Also, I guess technically inside of a 20-foot Santa Claus there is a 20-foot skeleton. Hey, how long can a cast iron skillet sit without intervention?
30, 40 years, probably.
Oh, you mean with stuff on there and everything?
Look, man, you've been in antique shops in the South, right?
Yeah, off and on.
Yeah, so you go in there, you get a cast iron. It's got like some manwich from 50 years ago caked on there.
Okay.
You take it home, you rub it in a little lye, probably wear some gloves for that, and then you put oil on it, put it in the oven at 350 and let it burn on a few times, and all of a sudden you got a brand new cast iron pan.
Okay. All right. I feel way better then. So when you threw 30 years out there, I'm going to say 3 days, probably not so bad.
I'm going to go and tell you, I often clean the cast iron pan immediately before I use it the next time.
Wow. Wait, where does it go in the meantime?
It just sits on the stovetop. Oh,
we're using cast iron that often?
I use cast iron as our main pan.
Oh, wow. Wow. Did not know you were that. Huh.
I'm cast iron pilled, man. I'm fully in on the cast iron. So we do well. Okay, so we don't have a nonstick really anymore. We have one of those kind of bullshit hex-clad knockoffs or whatever. But we don't use Teflon in the kitchen these days.
Yeah, right? We use a lot of Teflon, and I constantly second guess whether we should still be doing that. I mean, is it like provably bad, or is that one of those like it might be carcinogenic or what?
Look, man, you can ask the 6-legged cows in Pennsylvania how they feel about it. Mm-hmm. It's not good for you.
Okay.
It's fine. The TLDR is there's a couple of types of nonstick surfaces. Like the ceramic ones are totally fine. They've been made the same way for thousands of years. It's the Teflon stuff is bad for you. As soon as it gets damaged visibly, you got to stop using it.
Yes, that's what I had read.
But
which happens in like a month.
Well, I mean, it depends. You just always use wood in the cast iron, wood or plastic in the cast iron.
Yeah.
But now you're not supposed to use plastic around any kind of heat, which complicates things dramatically. And like, maybe we just all should learn to stop worrying and love the microplastics.
But I don't think we have a choice on that one.
Yeah, but it's the nanoplastics that now we should start worrying about. It turns out
they're subdividing.
But no. So the cast iron though, Aaron Biba, who's a wonderful science writer who used to write for us at Tested, does a thing when people start getting tetchy about cast iron. She's like, look, man, these were the pans that people hooked on the back of their Conestoga wagons as they were coming across the frontier of a new country, and they didn't use kosher salt and oil to clean them. They went down to the riverbank when one was convenient and rubbed it with water and grit until it looked clean, and then hung it back up on the back of the wagon and maybe rubbed a little lard in it before they used it the next time. So yes, you can baby your cast iron, but they're basically indestructible. And if you do mess them up, you go down to the hardware store, you get the lye, you take the old finish off, you make sure there's absolutely no rust on it, you cover it with oil, you put it in the oven, get it hot a few times, and you're back in business. So
that's good to hear. I mean, I should clarify, this is not just any cast iron pan.
Yeah.
This is my grandmother's cast iron pan.
Yeah, so
my beloved departed grandmother's cat. Like, I couldn't even tell you how old this thing is. Decades old, at least.
Is it smooth or is it like the rumpledy kind?
It's the rumpledy. It looks like it was. Yes, this does not come out of a factory.
Yeah. So, just like don't freak out. The worst thing you're going to do is have to resurface it. If you do, it's like 2 hours. You'll smoke up the house a little bit because the oven gets a little smoky when you do it. It's fine. You're not going to hurt it. I even use soap in mine, but don't tell anybody.
Wait, I thought that was the ultimate cardinal sin.
What do you think the cast iron police are going to come get you? No.
I suppose that's...
Look, a lot of people are going to be really pissed off in the comments. That's why we put this one at the front.
Wait, are we just doing rage bait now?
Look, people are going to have strong feelings about this. I'm going to tell them they're allowed to have those strong feelings right now. I'm going to get out in front of it. Okay. I'm sorry if I offended you. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I'm sorry you're offended. Brad, do you know how the brain picks up same sounds repeated frequently and like they filters it out? And you know how you make that not happen when you're making repeating sounds in video games, like gun sounds?
Do you very, very subtly change them from sound to sound so that the brain cannot like filter out a very obvious pattern?
Yes, but it's way more complicated than that, it turns out. So you take each component of the sound. So for example, when you're making a gun sound in a video game, this blew my mind when I learned how to do this. You take each component of the sound. So you take like the receiver sound, the ka-chunk, and you take the crack of the projectile leaving the muzzle, and you take the tail, the whizzing sound that it makes as it goes away from you, and then you take some other like bassy sounds, like an explosion for the gunpowder going off, and you make like 15 variations of each of those that are subtly different, like different pitch, different tone, slightly different. I think usually the length is the same, probably for pretty good reasons. And then you set each of those up in a thing, and you set each of those individual different variations to play randomly with each other. So you have 7 tails and 7 muzzles and 7 receivers and 7 booms and 7 random sounds. And you set each time the gun fires to make some combination of those 7 sounds that's totally non-deterministic and comes up a different way every single time. And that's how gun sounds are born, Brad.
That is rad. You just answered a question that I have wondered about for a long time before I could even ask you whether the gunfire sounds were being done programmatically somehow, and apparently they are, and that kind of is awesome.
Well, so you could, you could also just generate a whole bunch of like, so with Wise, you do this dynamically because it doesn't cost anything because the way Wise works, it's relatively cheap. Like the other, you can also make tools that will generate 200 different gun sounds and like, play one randomly out of there. 7 different gun sounds probably is enough. It doesn't take a lot. But yeah, if stuff sounds too samey, I don't know. I'm curious what the evolutionary advantage, because people can really detect when sounds are samey, and I don't know. There has to be some evolutionary advantage for that, but I haven't. This is what I think about in the shower often. It turns out.
Sure. Yes.
I don't have any idea what it is.
So, are you talking about noticing patterns or stopping noticing patterns, like ignoring patterns after they have become too routine?
Well, the brain detects patterns. If you hear patterns in a game for the same sound, that plays a lot. Like if the gun sounds exactly the same every time you shoot it, people will be like, this gun sounds like crap, and they won't have any idea why.
Yes. Also, I'll say, given the history of conspiracy theories and such, the brain perhaps over detects patterns.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Like we're bad. We're bad. We're good at it to the point that we're bad at it in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm anyway, I just thought that was interesting.
That's cool as hell.
Neat.
I have got the biggest fixation on like little simulations and systems built into games that are not like super obvious like that. Like, like a great classic example to me is the Jeep in Uncharted 4.
What does it do?
My friend Cowboy, who works over there, had mentioned this on a Giant Bomb video at one point. Like the little gear shift animation. Nathan Drake or whoever it is driving the Jeep in that instance. Whenever he shifts gears as you're driving the Jeep, like that's all based on what the Jeep is actually doing. You know, like that's not, that is all programmatic based on like how fast the Jeep is going. And I think probably if it's going up slopes and stuff like that.
Oh wow, that's amazing! I didn't know that.
Just like little simulations, little like, usable computers, things that programs running inside of a game, you know what I mean? Like obviously every game is a bunch of programs put together, but like little subsystems that are built for bespoke reasons like that are just in there. Well, endlessly fascinating.
It's like a lot of VFX stuff is like that. It's just like a little program that runs that determines motion of particles in space. And then you use that to add noise or some sort of random variation to the world that people don't notice, but they do if it's not there. So, yeah.
The classic from the first Lord of the Rings film, the classic massive example, massive being the middleware they built to animate like people running at each other and fighting and who they should fight and how, and weird emergent behaviors they got out of that where they actually ran away from each other at one point instead, which maybe is instructive.
It's really fun. So I don't really like sandwiches.
What?
I don't really like sandwiches. I'm sorry.
I've heard such people exist, but I don't think I've ever met one before.
Look, to be clear, I like a fancy sandwich.
What constitutes fancy here?
Like more than 5 ingredients: bread, mayonnaise, meat, cheese. Yeah, probably 5. Lettuce. That's 5 ingredients.
Does bread actually count as an ingredient in a sandwich?
I think so. Without the bread, what do you have even? You just have some meat on a plate.
God, by your standards, every sandwich I have ever made in my life is fancy.
Well, okay, so there's a lot of people who live in the house, not a lot, but enough that like making 3 sandwiches a day means that we have to have like 2 loaves of bread every time we go to the grocery store. It's too many loaves of bread to keep in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
is that possible? I don't know if that's possible, but go on.
Look, I don't really like the bread that much, to be honest. Like,
wait, what kind of bread are we talking?
Look, if you go to the nice baker and you get the fancy loaf, I'll eat the shit out of that. But if we're getting like grocery store sandwich bread, that's a pass for me most of the time. I'll do a tortilla and put something in it and like smear some hummus or something on there and wrap that up. But
nice little wrap, yeah.
Yeah, but the point is, if you don't like sandwiches, home lunches are challenging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I mean, I love sandwiches, but even if I didn't, like, that's kind of the thing when you work at home and you don't have a lot of time to eat. Like, what else are you going to do?
Yeah, so I'm curious. I was going to ask you what you do for lunch, but I guess you eat sandwiches.
It's a lot of sandwiches.
Oh man, so like the first couple of years I worked at home, I ate a lot of hot dogs. That was a mistake for a multitude of reasons, mostly related to blood pressure and weight.
I can see that going sideways. Yeah,
I mean, I do like a hot dog though. But like I've done some soups. I do soups sometimes. Sometimes I'll do like I mean, always leftovers are an option, but often we do a pretty good job of making the amount of food that we're going to eat these days. So it's less of an issue, less of availability these days. Sometimes.
Wait.
Yeah.
Hang on. Are you saying that you were strategically trying to avoid having leftovers?
We, as a family, 2 of the 3 of us aren't particularly good about eating leftovers.
Oh God. Wait, who should I?
I'm not going to out anybody.
Okay.
It's not me. That's what I'll say.
Okay. I think you may have just passively outed some people.
Oh, crap.
Anyway, dude, leftovers are life's greatest joy.
So look, I end up eating a lot of leftovers. It's just fine. I don't mind. I enjoy, I like you. I enjoy a good leftover. I feel like extra time often gives the flavors time to bloom.
Yeah. But also like, we bought a bunch of Chinese food a couple nights ago. And ate half of the Chinese food. And you know what we get to do tonight?
Yeah. The other half of the Chinese food.
Open the fridge and eat a bunch more Chinese food.
So the Chinese food is a weird one for me because I often will take that and make it breakfast the next day. Like if you take fried rice and put that put that in your cast iron and just lightly refry it, make it a little bit warm. And then I have this, it's called, I think Hassan's Japanese barbecue sauce, but it's from Petaluma.
Is it very thin?
It's kind of a gloopy.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking something else.
It's thin for what you and I think of as Southern barbecue sauce. Okay. It's like a gloopy soy sauce. I think it's like soy and molasses and a couple other things.
I think we might have a bottle of that actually.
So I will tell you, if when the rice gets warm, you drizzle some of that stuff on there and kind of toss the rice a little bit until it gets nice and brown, and then you fry an egg and put that on top with some sriracha, maybe a little spring onion. It is the best goddamn breakfast you'll ever have. It makes bad Panda Express fried rice taste delicious.
Interesting.
Not that we eat a lot of Panda Express fried rice, but like I'm just saying, I've rescued a lot of bad food doing this.
I didn't want to admit it, but our food was from Panda Express.
Look, orange chicken's delicious. I'm not going to judge. I like those super greens. Yeah, they're steamed. They're delicious. Like
there was a bit of an argument about should we get the super greens or should we. To be clear, we do not go to Panda Express a lot. This is like the second or third time ever we had a coupon, but there was an argument. When, let's say, one party was like, we should get super greens, they're healthy. And I was like, but fried rice goes in that same slot. And it was like, oh, we're already getting noodles. And I'm like, what if we got noodles and rice?
So the secret of Panda. So, okay, we have two Chinese restaurants that are like in easy distance from the house. One is a delicious local place called Kenny's. The other is Panda Express. Panda Express is open 7 days a week and Kenny's is closed on, I think, Mondays and Wednesdays. So often we'll be like, oh man, I'd really like some Chinese food. And it's Monday and you're like, oh crap. Okay, well, I guess we're going to Panda Express. So the super greens, delish. The fried rice sucks. The noodles are pretty good.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah,
we didn't get fried rice and it seems that I may have dodged a bullet.
Yeah, I think I just blew our chances of a Panda Express sponsorship too.
But, it's fine.
What are you going to do?
I will say in our defense, our favorite local place closed down a few months ago. We are a bit adrift on the Chinese food. It was called Five Happiness.
Oh, I love Five Happiness.
Wait, have you been to Five Happiness?
No, I just love the Five Happiness meal. That's the shrimp and it's the five proteins.
Yes, this is possibly the best name for a restaurant I have ever heard.
I could go for some Five Happiness. Okay, so I have a new thing that I think is as impactful as the soap opera mode on TVs.
Oh.
You know, in Windows, how you go to the sound panel and at the bottom there, it's like, hey, man, you want to turn on the spatial sound?
I sure do.
Windows.
Having switched to Windows 11 recently, I'm well acquainted with that. I mean, Windows 10 had spatial sound, right? But I don't think they weren't pushing it quite as much.
Well, let me tell you, if you turn that off, everything's going to sound better, except for like maybe movies and TV shows. So it does all sorts of weird filtering based on frequencies and assigns things to different areas of the headspace. But what it basically does is fucks up all positional sound in every video game ever. Oh,
I didn't even think about that aspect of it. I just want it raw anyway. Like, do people actually like audio processing? Like,
people love processing because it's like you're getting something for nothing. It's like, wow, I got a pair of 7.1 headphones. Don't turn those on either. Those are bad too.
Just put my AV receiver in concert hall mode from now on.
Oh my God. Just put it in. If you have headphones on, just do stereo because almost every video game ever does the 3D processing for you. And if you do it twice, it makes stuff sound real weird.
You know what I will say in Windows 11's favor, though?
What?
Have you ever hit Control Window V?
Control Window V. Oh, yeah, this is my favorite. This is good. I use this so often I don't even know what the keyboard shortcut is because my finger just does it. And you can turn Windows and you can turn spatial sound off right there.
Yes, they do confront you with the spatial sound stuff in this menu. To be clear, that opens up an audio device selector. I don't know how many,
probably should have said that. Sorry.
I don't know how many people have multiple audio outputs in Windows that they need to switch between, but I do constantly, and it's pretty awesome to hit a keyboard shortcut and click once and be on your headphones or your speakers or whatever.
Yeah, I think everybody. I mean, like it's funny, for the first 2 years or year and a half I used Windows 11, I never had the thing where it switched to the monitor speakers inadvertently. And now all of a sudden it happens all the time.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
very
great.
Cool. I love it. I updated my NVIDIA drivers this morning and those monitor sound devices did not come back. So I don't, whatever disease you have, I seem to have avoided so far.
Congratulations. I'm feeling, look, Feeling it might be close to time for a Windows reinstall.
Oh,
yeah.
How do you know?
It's just getting a little crufty in there. And then I hear people say things like the thing that bothers me every time I install my NVIDIA drivers doesn't happen on their computers anymore. And I'm like, maybe it's time.
It's giving off a slightly unpleasant odor.
Yeah, it's, there's extra windows in here. I have a bunch of applications installed that I can't remember what they're for anymore. I probably uninstalled and installed ASUS's Armory Crate thing 15 times because I updated the BIOS and forgot to turn off that flag.
No. Wait, doesn't it only prompt you to install those things now? I thought they had changed it.
For a while, it just installed it for you.
Oh man, no thank you. Okay, this may be a prelude to a full upcoming episode. I'm not sure, but where does one get started with fan control?
Well, when two fans love each other very much, Brad.
Yes, when they read from the same sensor.
They read from the same sensor. Then you hook them up to two compatible curves. No, fan control is really complicated. Like it's the powerful thing about fan control is that it's complicated.
It is very complicated. Do I have it running here? Can I just pull it up and read to you what happens when you... no, I don't have it running. Give me a second.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So so for people who don't know, fan control is the all-time best fan controlling software I've used on a Windows PC ever. It lets you associate sensors on the motherboard, in the CPU, in your GPU, all the ones that are available, even like the headers that you can plug in and like tape onto something with specific fans or combinations of fans. It lets you do things like say, okay, I want to use this sensor to set the speed of this fan until this other sensor crosses this threshold. And then you're going to use this sensor instead, this curve instead. And I think we should probably just do a whole episode because it's crazy complicated. I think
you're right. Now that I'm on this 14900K, I've got certain cooling needs I need to account for, certain fan profile, curve shaping, sort of things that cannot be accomplished in the ASUS BIOS fan control application, which is terrible.
No, because low key, the best thing about fan control is that it supports hysteresis. I guess
hysteresis. You were the second person in as many days that I've been on a video call with who did not love saying the word hysteresis.
Well, it's a word that I've read a bazillion times and have never actually heard anybody say. I don't think.
Yes, I think it throws everyone for a loop.
But what that means is it lets you control the rate at which the fan reacts to changes in temperature. So if like your CPU spikes from 50 Celsius to 90 Celsius, it doesn't immediately go from the 50% speed to the 90% speed. And when we say curves, what that means is you can say, okay, when this input is this temperature, spin these fans at this speed. And then you can change the rate at which that increases as you get closer to the higher temperatures that you want to avoid. Yes. So what it means is at idle and at low usage, you can have a really quiet computer that only gets loud when you do something stupid, like say bake lights in Unreal levels or something like that, like I was doing last week, that had my computer fans going at 90% all weekend.
I still cannot believe that screenshot you sent me of Task Manager. I've never seen that, like every single core on the CPU loaded to 100%, just like flat across the graph.
An hour.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive stuff. I wish I had something to throw that much compute at. Anyway, I'm in the exact position you just described, where the CPU will burst up to, let's say, like 97 Celsius, but for like probably a split second, like it's probably milliseconds. But whatever the ASUS BIOS is looking at is just it's just looking at that temperature and immediately responding to it, right? Like I assume it's like on some kind of sub-second interval, right? That it's adjusting stuff. Yeah, and so every time, like, not every time I open Chrome, but it's something like opening Chrome, or opening Discord. Just every once in a while, the CPU will just spike, and all of a sudden, every fan in the computer is at 100%. It's just like, wow, there's a jet engine under here intermittently.
Yeah, it's like Steam downloading something in the background will spike your CPU enough to make your fan spin up, which sucks.
Yeah. So I was all set to I was like, man, maybe I should just get an all-in-one liquid cooler. Like, this is intolerable. I can't stand this. And then all of a sudden, both you and talking to Adam at PC World, like, it kind of hit me. I was like, wait a minute. Maybe the metal in this heatsink can take more heat than it currently is. Maybe I can like let the metal get a little hotter and not run these fans like.
Well, it's their heat pipes too. So yeah. But this is the benefit of having liquid cooling, is that the water holds a lot of energy, right? Even in an all-in-one cooler that doesn't have that much water or much coolant, the liquid holds a lot of energy. So you can use that as a kind of buffer too. That's why I usually recommend when people buy all-in-ones that they buy ones that let you monitor the temperature. So NZXT, ASUS, a couple others do that.
The temperature of the water,
the temperature of the liquid inside. Yeah.
Or I don't know if water is even an accurate term these days, or is
it's a coolant. It's a glycol thing, I think, usually.
Anyway, like I realized I kind of don't actually need to do that if I just bring down the ceiling on this stuff. The fan curves. So I installed fan control. It's going to tell you what it says when I click this plus button to add something. It's really just the UI, I think, maybe has ways to go. I click this plus button to add whatever, because it doesn't say what it's going to add. Here are the options: sync, flat, trigger, mix, graph, linear, offset, file, time average, and mix.
Okay, so you need
without any context on any of those.
Did you do the thing where it connects the sensors to the fans? Okay.
Yes.
This is one where it's okay to do the automatic thing and then tweak from there, would be my advice when you're getting started, because that'll let you see how it works.
Okay.
The other thing is you can override any fan at any time by clicking on by clicking the green toggle switch underneath the icon, which wasn't immediately clear to me, and that'll go back to whatever the BIOS setting is for it. So like when you're identifying fans and all that stuff, the first thing you should do is label all your sensors and all your fans so you know what everything is.
Done.
Once you've done that, it sometimes is worth digging out the thermistor that comes with your motherboard and plugging that in and getting a little piece of tape and taping it onto something that you're worried about, like probably more in water cooling where you don't have a lot of airflow around the VRMs and the memory and all that. But that's worth doing sometimes. And then just kind of futz with it. Like I usually shoot for like a 30 to 40 C water or coolant temperature on my loop. And then you don't want the coolant, and all-in-one you don't ever want to go higher than 55 or 60 Celsius. 60 C is when you start having problems with motors and stuff. So you want to have your fans hit 100% before you get to that point usually.
So do you think, would you recommend setting thresholds based on temperature then, instead of like time, instead of like spin up time, like instead of saying wait X number, 5 seconds after you hit a high temperature, wait 5 seconds before you spin the fans up? Or are you saying instead you should limit that by temperature? Just like kind of say, like just keep temperature below X. Is that even something you can like script in this?
Well, no. So the way the hysteresis works is you say, I don't want to go up faster than X percentage per second.
I see.
So, or down, and you can control both up and down.
Oh, so the point is it'll ramp slowly, but then by the time it would have ramped up to the unpleasant level of noise,
it's more gradual, so you don't notice. Yeah,
but also by the time it would have gotten that high, the CPU temp in those little bursts has already dropped anyway.
Probably settled down. Yeah. So
got it.
I think for an air cooler, you probably want a higher hysteresis than you do with water, just because the water takes longer to warm up and cool down. But I don't know for sure, so I don't know what those you'll have to fiddle with that a little bit. But it's like you can load up something that hits CPU pretty hard and tell in like 5 minutes, or just download a game from Steam. Like literally as soon as like my CPU gets hot, downloading games from Steam, because thanks Steam.
Yeah, it does make me wonder exactly how much I can constrain the fans, since I'm not on liquid and there's nowhere else for the heat to go but into that metal. But it's not like the heatsink is going to melt off the side of the board or something.
Well, and the CPU will throttle, so you're not going to burn anything down.
Yes,
probably.
Well, great.
Brad, I made something really stupid the other day.
Oh, is this the first time?
No, it happens a lot, it turns out.
Okay.
But the Anacrusis came out of early access last week. And
congratulations.
Thank you. We've shipped a game. Yay. And I was feeling a little festive because, it's the holiday season. Mm-hmm. And I never do these because I have a plasma TV and it feels like an incredible waste of electricity. But I know that people are fond of a many hour Yule log video where there's some sort of like roaring fire and,
See, the nice thing about doing it on a plasma, though, The nice thing about running a fireplace animation on your plasma is that you're putting out just as much heat as a fireplace would.
It does warm the room right on up. But I made a 12-hour video game Yule log.
Wow.
For the Anacrusis. It took 3 days for YouTube to process the video. It was so long. I put it in the there's a link in the show notes for you.
Oh, that's incredible.
But I was playing the other day and I was like, wow, that looks like a log sticking out of this fire. That's just environmental fire in the game. And I used the Unreal in-engine recording thing and made a demo and then played the demo back and did a little bit of Premiere work there, and 12-hour Yule log was born.
You have made a positive contribution to human culture.
Yeah. So if you want something to, give your family a little festive holiday cheer during the holiday season, load this up on the TV. Maybe not the plasma is what I would say, but your LCD, your OLED, totally fine. Enjoy.
How did all this timber get onto the spaceship?
That's not timber. That's rubble, I believe.
Oh. Yeah,
that's just I didn't do any level edits or anything. It's just like garbage fire from when the spaceship is bad. Yeah, because the spaceship starts out pretty good in the game, and then it gets bad the more you play. And this is when there's open fire on a spaceship. It turns out that's not great.
Yeah, I tend to find that the level of on fireness corresponds to the level of badness generally.
Yeah, the more on fire, the worse it is, unless you're talking about an actual fire, in which case, not so much. I learned something fascinating this morning. Speaking of holiday fires.
Oh,
did we talk about this the other day? The roasting chestnuts. Nobody ever roasts chestnuts anymore.
No.
I learned why we don't roast chestnuts anymore.
Uh-oh.
It's bad. It's because the American chestnut tree is basically extinct. There's like a few thousand of them left around the country.
They got roasted to death?
No, there was a blight. There was a fungus that spread across the entire North American chestnut ecosystem. There's a few thousand of them left. There's like a really lovely conservation effort going on from people who are like going out and finding the blight resistant chestnuts, and they're bringing pollen from one to the other to breed them so they'll hopefully develop blight resistant strains of the American chestnut, and we'll get chestnut trees back.
It'll be a holiday miracle.
Really would.
Okay, I know I've talked about how much I love the Apple Watch.
Yeah, you're a fan, is my understanding.
And we've talked on occasion about how much I don't like abrupt changes to user interface.
I think many people would probably agree with you on that.
Okay. I'm not. It's good to not feel alone.
Like, we all know change is bad, Brad.
Yes, of course.
Well established.
The old ways are the best.
Yeah.
WatchOS 10 might be the worst upgrade I have ever experienced in my history of using electronics in terms of how negatively it impacted the way I use a device.
Okay, so is this because of one feature that you used all the time that changed, or just a general vibe that sucks now?
No, it was quite literally them removing the dock entirely, and the dock was the entire basis of how I interacted with apps on that thing.
Okay, hold on. Well, you got to explain what the dock is, because I don't ever know what anything's called on WatchOS.
It was the thing, you hit the little side button.
The crown or the fat one?
Not the crown, but just the flush little side button against the housing. All it was like a list of favorite apps, but like not in icon form, in like sort of widget, in kind of like quasi-interactable form.
So it was widgets.
Like, basically. And they would like you set the order, you would set like whichever favorite apps you want on there in the order you want, but the ones that were quote unquote active, like if you had a workout going or you were listening to something in Overcast or whatever, like the ones that were quote unquote active like that would float to the top automatically.
Oh man, that's nice. So, I never used that, I don't think.
Oh, it was so great. Like, so like if you're out on I just described my basic use case. If you're out on doing a workout and with Overcast running and you just switch back and forth, like say to check how far you have gone and then go back and pause or rewind your podcast very quickly. Like it was dead simple, like instantaneous to switch back and forth between apps that you were using. And then Apple in their infinite wisdom did away with that entire interface.
I don't think you think that their wisdom was infinite in this case.
I think this was very perceptive of you.
I will say, where the main iOS and iPadOS and macOS interfaces have been relatively static for a long period of time, as an off and on watch user for the last decade, they have made enormous changes to the watch UI, let's say every third year, pretty consistently for the entire time I've been using the watch. Mm-hmm. And it almost, sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's like different and you have to get used to it. And sometimes it just blows. Like that one feels bad. I didn't ever use the dock because what didn't exist when I started using a watch, I guess.
Oh, interesting. I see.
Yeah, but so I do this. I do get the same effect by making sure that the icons that are the things I use are on the pop-up menu. So I just tap into them.
Is that the one with just the big?
It's the big
morass
of apps,
of icons.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that has been my substitute for this, but it's not even remotely. Like, it takes like 3 more button presses and swipes to do the same thing that I used to do in one.
Yeah, the thing that I miss is swipe up to get to Control Center. Now it's the stupid widgets there that are just Apple widgets because nobody else has done apps for the APIs yet.
That's exactly it. They replaced the dock with that widgets menu that nobody supports, and they moved Control Center, which you swiped up to get to, like you just said, to that button that had the dock on it. I mean, it's like they made everything worse.
So for me, that's a good change because I use Control Center a lot. But yeah, as a whole, I don't know, man. I just want notifications. I want to be able to use the walkie-talkie thing, and I want to be able to control my music and whatever I'm watching on TV from my watch without having to get my phone out.
It's what is that? Like an 1.5 to 2 inch screen? Like, I get it. It's probably hard to do UI for a screen that small, but come on, man.
Come on, man. Indeed. Brad, have you ever used low power mode on your phone when it's like, hey man, your battery's low? You should switch to low power mode.
Look, man, my battery doesn't get low.
What about your watch? I switched my watch to low power mode and it lasted like another 8 hours the other day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, on the phone, it's one thing, but actually, like, I feel like you could lose most of the functionality of the watch and be fine for a while.
I think all it basically did was turn the always on screen off, and then all of a sudden it was like a much longer I might turn the watch screen off on the watch, actually. Is kind of where I ended up with this.
But then you're back in the uncomfortable social situation of not being able to look at your watch and see the time without, like, very conspicuously raising your wrist to your face, which makes people think that you are being bored by them.
I mean, what if I want that high level of signal to them that I am being bored by them?
Is this some kind of like alpha male thing? You're just trying to establish dominance?
Yes, because when people look at me, they think, oh, yes, there's the alpha male. So you don't use it? You've never used it?
No. I mean, like, I'm being flip, but no, I do charge my stuff pretty frequently. So I don't really, also, I never leave the house. I don't really go out much for work. So.
But like my iPad, I usually use the whole battery, maybe not the whole battery, but I usually try to plug it in when it gets low, and sometimes I forget. So like often I'll be getting ready to go to bed or something, and I'm laying down with the kiddo in her room to read a book or watch a YouTube video or something, and like my iPad will be like 8%, and I'll have to be like, oh man.
Yikes.
But I still never turn on low power mode. I see the notification. I'm like, oh no, this is for suckers.
So did you do it?
I'm not. Only on the watch. Only on the watch.
Okay, got it.
I'm turbo mode all the way, baby.
I have entered the territory with I think my iPad Pro, which is 6 or 7 years old now. I think I've hit the tipping point.
Oh, what's your battery? Oh, it doesn't give you the battery number, does it?
iPads do not show battery health the way that phones do. It's great, Apple. Thank you. I think I've hit the tipping point though, because now, like, pretty much every time I sit down to use it, I'm guaranteed to burn 30 to 50% of the battery.
Wow.
So it's probably getting time.
I mean, I will tell you, I think the iPad Pro that I bought last year is maybe my favorite thing I bought last year.
It's a nice device.
Like it was the pencil stuff is really good now, and I use it like a laptop when I'm traveling, and it's maybe my favorite computer that I use on the reg.
So once it gets old, I mean, when any device like this, laptop, tablet, whatever, like, would you ever jump through the hoops and pay the money to just get a new battery in there? Or is a declining battery the de facto sign that it's time to just get a new one?
Well, does it feel slow when you use it?
Not really. Not the way that this is my second iPad ever. I had an iPad 4 that was like unpleasant to use by the time I replaced it. This actually still feels pretty snappy now that you mention it.
I think I would that would be firmly in the it was kind of expensive to start with because they were about $1,000. Putting $100 battery in it isn't going to,
Yeah, this one, excuse me, I got it on sale.
Okay,
but I think I got it for like $650, maybe $700.
I guess my point is, to get a replacement iPad Pro at this point, you're going to pay $1,000. So
yes, that is a good point.
Or alternately, maybe the right answer is if you just want to have the pencil to get the air instead, because then all you lose is the high refresh screen and the nice screen. But you can't go back, can you?
That is literally the one reason I bought the Pro. Like, I'm not ashamed to admit it.
Yeah. So then. Yeah, I feel like $100 to get another 5 years worth, 5 years of life out of it is probably not a bad investment.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to last another 5 years.
Well, the problem is I don't know how, like, replacing batteries in phones is relatively easy because you can open them with screws, and you do have to break a weather seal, but that's pretty straightforward to put back. The iPad is harder because you have to it's glued.
Wait, are you talking about putting the battery in yourself?
Well, no, I'm talking about whoever does it. It's never going to be.
Got it.
Like it's like I would take it to Apple to have them replace the battery rather than take it to some guy in the mall kiosk.
Oh, yeah, sure. But I would have thought Apple had a way to.
Yeah, they have a machine
like that without breaking seals or degrading, moisture resistance and stuff like that.
The moisture resistance always degrades over time. Like there's nothing you can do to fix that. I'm sure that they put a new seal on when they do the battery replacement. They have this big, you should look it up. It's on YouTube because once they open up their repairs to everybody, they'll sell you the $1,000 machine that you use to like grab onto the back of the iPad and like suction the. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's nuts.
Maybe it's time to get a sideline going.
Man, I don't need that kind of stress in my life. Are you kidding? No, thank you, sir. Every mistake is $1,000 error. You know what sucks, Brad?
That's a pretty broad question. I could think of several answers, but I don't know. You tell me.
We're recording this on Saturday. It's SantaCon Day.
Oh, wait, SantaCon sucks?
SantaCon sucks, dude.
I've never been to SantaCon.
Okay, so I used to live next to a bar that was a popular SantaCon place, and what that meant is there were always a bunch of drunk, passed out assholes wearing Santa Claus shirts in the gutter outside my house, and it's just gotten worse. That was like 15 years ago. It's just gotten worse since then.
Actually, yes. I've been out for enough beta breakers around here that I can identify with the like day drunk people overrun your neighborhood thing.
I'm okay. Like beta breakers has a wholesomeness to it that is just like, public nudity and light drunkenness.
Yes, and a lot of costumes.
Yeah.
Santa Claus costumes are also costumes, but they're all kind of the same costume.
But like Beta Breakers hasn't been I would not describe Beta Breakers as descending upon a neighborhood, at least since they stopped letting you drag coolers along the route.
Yeah, you're right. But if you live close to the route, it is pretty raucous.
I lived on that route too. It was I think Beta Breakers has like people bring their kids to Beta Breakers. SantaCon is like fucking locusts descending on a neighborhood.
Red and white robed locusts.
Yeah, it's like people are out at 8 o'clock in the morning pre-gaming SantaCon, and like, man, like nobody should drink that much eggnog. I like eggnog, but like you don't want to bake a base of eggnog and whiskey. It's a bad idea.
Is SantaCon? I always got the sense SantaCon was a bit scandalous, a bit ribald.
My understanding is that it was originally supposed to be a charity thing, and then the people running the charity maybe just put a lot of money into crypto and bought shit for themselves.
Oh, great.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just repeating baseless rumors at this point. Sorry, apologies in advance. But yeah, I find that SantaCon to be I accidentally went to the city the year before on SantaCon Day, and I was just like, my daughter was like, "Oh, look, there's a bunch of people in Santa Claus costumes." And I was just like, "Oh, we're going home. Fuck this. We're out."
These Santa Clauses are not child approved.
No, these are bad Santas, kiddo. You don't want to sit on that man's lap. Brad, I set up the new Steam Deck for console streaming this week.
Console streaming.
Yeah. So now I can stream from Steam. I can stream from other Windows games.
Okay.
And I can stream from PlayStation and Xbox.
Xbox.
Well, I mean, like Microsoft was really pro Steam Deck. Like they did that whole, hey, install Edge on this thing, and then you can Edge for Linux, and then you can stream to the Xbox cloud. But I was like, I have an Xbox here. I'm just going to stream from that to this thing. And there wasn't a way to do that for a long time, but now there is.
Okay, yeah. Like I'm trying to parse in my head like the history of Xbox home streaming, because on the Xbox One that was like a sanctioned feature, streaming from your own Xbox in the home, and I think
you had to have the Xbox app on your PC.
Yes, you did have to run their app to do it, but at least they made it available. Whereas I don't.
The series you can still do that.
Can you still do it?
Yeah, Huh.
Does it have
Now
to
that
be
you
with
say that,
Edge?
I'm not sure.
Does it have to be with Edge? I'm not actually sure.
No, that's not with Edge. That's just in the Xbox app, I think.
Huh.
I'm looking now. I'm curious because I actually don't have any idea. It's like a toggled feature you can turn on in the OS in the Xbox OS.
Well, I don't let my Xbox sleep anymore anyway because it saves a whole lot of energy.
Yeah, I've kind of stopped doing that as well. But so Chiaki for the PS4 has been around for a long time. We talked about that on the podcast, I think, before on the last Steam. The when I finally got a Steam Deck last year, you set that up, you have to get some IDs and stuff, but then once you do it, you can just connect, you can wake up the PlayStation, whatever, and it works shockingly well. The trick with that is because games use the touchpad on the controller differently, you have to get the right Steam controller profile to mimic the way that whatever game you're playing. So if you're playing Spider-Man, you need one. If you're playing Ghost of Tsushima, you need something else. No big deal. Greenlight, however, lets you do the same thing with the Xbox, and it uses a third-party API that somebody's developed to connect and grab the stream and all that stuff. You just sign into your Xbox account, and then your Xbox shows up. You hit the button, and it connects. It's really, really turnkey.
Oh wow, this works for xCloud too, not just streaming from your own Xbox.
And if you have Game Pass, it works for xCloud too.
Gosh, that's wild. Has this been just reverse engineered? I
don't know who did the protocol, how the protocol stuff works, but all I know is I signed into a Microsoft prompt to give it permission to access my stuff. It had the right, it was like, hey, here's the information it can get, and it didn't look bad. And now I have a little Linux program on my Steam Deck that I can double click, and it launches straight into you can even deep link into specific games on that if you want. Wow. So if you want to make a shortcut on your Steam Steam Deck control panel, you can do that. But it works on PC too. There's a PC version as well. So
we'll have to grab this. It's very kind of I don't know what it says about me. Sometimes it's very convenient to be able to access your consoles that are in the next room without walking in the next room, let's say, to install things.
I'll be honest. I've been using it to play Knights of the Old Republic on my Steam Deck because getting mods installed on the Linux version, kind of a pain in the ass. Running the Steam Deck to connect to the Xbox in the other room, no problem.
Yeah.
Turns out.
Yeah, I like open source. It doesn't have to be open source. It usually is, but open source or homebrew hooks into corporate services. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it feels like you're getting something, right?
Yes, Greenlight and Chiaki are both great examples of those are technologies designed by giant companies to work with their walled garden bespoke hardware. Yeah. But then here comes some random developers I built a thing. It works. It hooks into their thing. I feel like I assume have you seen the news about Beeper Mini going around?
Yeah, they shut it down, didn't they?
Yes, which lasted all of, I think, 3 days.
That seems right.
That is the latest attempt on Android by somebody to hook into the iMessage ecosystem, except unlike the previous attempts, which as far as I know have all involved running a Mac somewhere for every user, not necessarily a physical Mac, probably VMs or whatever, but they were having to relay all these other attempts to do this. Were having to relay iMessages through a virtual Mac somewhere in the cloud.
Or you had to run a piece of software on your own computer.
Yes, or you could do it on a Mac of your own. But this one, apparently they straight up figured out how to reverse engineer enough of the protocol to hook into it natively.
And decrypt it, presumably.
And it worked for about 3 days.
So oddly, I've been using the phone link thing that's part of Windows 11. You can download it from the Microsoft Store, and it connects to your phone over Bluetooth, and I can send and receive iMessages. I get notifications on my desktop when it's connected.
Is it full iMessages? I should set that up. That sounds very useful, but doesn't it only do some of the functionality?
It's weirdly limited, and I don't know what the edges are. But the upshot is, if my wife sends me a text and I don't have my phone where I can hear it, then I get a message on my screen that lets me respond to her, which is really the 99% use case.
That's all I need. Sold.
Yeah, because otherwise I get weird Discord messages from somebody with no profile icon who's like, hey, can you check your phone and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Chiaki, Greenlight, both great. I set up EmuDeck, but I haven't done all that stuff yet on the OLED. The OLED looks real good still.
Yeah. So I hear. You know what's cool? Interoperability.
Yeah.
Make everything work with everything else.
I love that. You know what else I love, Brad?
What's that?
I love our patrons.
Oh, wow. We're here.
It's that time of the show again.
Yeah.
We made it to the end of another. This isn't exactly this isn't a potpourri. This isn't a cold opens. This is a cold pourri.
A cube.
Opens.
It's a cube, right? And then we decided a bundle of Cold opens was called a cube.
I guess so, yeah. But here we are. Some of these were more functional than cold opens, I think. We kind of broke the pattern on this one. I don't know. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, it's been a weird week. I hope this episode was acceptable.
We would like to thank everybody who supports the show. So thank you to all of our patrons.
Yes, thank you. We do appreciate you very much.
Without you all, the show wouldn't be here because we are 100% listener supported. I joked about getting ads from Panda Express, which I don't think they would give us ads. But yeah, you can find out how to support the show by going to patreon.com/techpod. Again, that's patreon.com/techpod. And for $5 a month, you get access to the patron exclusive episodes. You get access to the fabulous TechPod Discord, which is full of a bunch of beautiful nerds talking about, I don't think there was a SantaCon thread this year. There was last year. But like this morning people have been talking about Hungarian soup recipes in the main chat, which I'm going to go and tell you, I got 3 soup recipes in there this morning that I'm going to probably make over the course of this winter. Somebody was posting that they had never had sour cream and lemon and dill together. And I was like, you know what? I don't know that I've ever had those in a warm thing before. And that sounds pretty good. So so you should check out the Discord. You get the patron episodes. It's a lot of fun. It's full of good people. And as always, we want to thank our executive producer tier patrons, including Andrew Slosky, Animal Descriptor, Paddle Creek Games, makers of Fractured Veil, David Allen, James Kamek, Joel Krauska, Jordan Lippett, Just Wedge, Nick Johnston, Pantheon, makers of the HS3 high-speed 3D printer, and Twinkle Twinkie. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you.
Yes, we do.
And I guess that'll do it for us this week.
I believe it will.
We'll be back next week with another episode of Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. Thank you all for listening. Have a good week. Bye.